Okay, what you're looking at here is a Dellorto DRLA. I think I would call it a double barrel carburetor. I'm running dual carbs on this engine. I'm not going to go into the details about which carb model they are because they're basically all the same. The point of this video is going to be that I have been plagued here with a snapping and popping. I've checked my jets numerous times over and over and over, and I still get a snapping and popping. Snapping and popping is a lean condition, and you've got to cure it. The symptom of this particular problem was it would idle fine. It would cruise down the street at a constant speed just fine. But upon acceleration, this thing would snap and pop and buck and just aggravate the hell out of you. I pulled the main jet out, which very seldom ever gets clogged. I think I've only had it happen once in 20 years because they're huge holes. Now, here it is on the bench, and I want to show you what I'm looking for. On this particular model, these are your idle needle valves for each barrel, for each side. You're sharing a common float bowl with two different barrels, and this is your accelerator pump. Now, I took my accelerator pump apart and I found some trash in there, a little bit of rust and garbage, and the reason that you find that is these carburetors, as well as the WeberIDFs, they feed from, let's see if I can figure this out there, right there. They feed from this particular, the top of that screw right there, where my screwdriver is, right next to it. That's got a ball bearing in it, and that is a check valve. And it draws the fuel for the accelerator pump from the bottom of the float bowl. Some of them have a little port that's part of the way up, but any trash that ends up in your float bowls is going to be sucked usually down into that accelerator pump diaphragm area. Now, when you look down inside here, you can see, I hope you can see that squirt? Look right now off that brass tube. Okay. They were squirting, but not with any great enthusiasm. Now, I want to show you, okay, when you're looking at this, okay, here's your adjustment screw for the length of squirt, which is going to determine the quantity when you push on the accelerator pump. Now, doesn't matter how hard I push on this. See how I pushed it real hard? It was the spring that was actually doing the squirting right back in the back here. It's the spring that's pushing on that diaphragm. If you jammed your foot in it, it would rupture that diaphragm. And there's no place for the fuel to go because it's not going to come through the little tiny holes fast enough. This is the accelerator pump jet holder. I removed those, and what really led me to suspect this was that I took these out, and I thought to clear the passageway I would, go back and forth on it, and fuel did come out. Now I did the other side that was still on the car. A lot more fuel came out. So that means when you're mashing on the throttle, some of the fuel was backing up inside the float bowl. That's just something to look for if you've got that lean condition. When you open the throttle plates and accelerate, you need fuel. You need extra fuel when you're accelerating. And if it snaps and pops, backfires, it could be several things. You could have you check your valve adjustment. You could have a valve that is not completely closing. You could have a bad spark plug. You could have spark issues and timing and so forth. But that sort of makes an overall crummy running engine. But this thing ran nice, just gorgeous at all speeds, all steady speeds. It was just that when you wanted to accelerate, it would snap and buck. and to tell truthfully, it was coming and going. It wasn't doing it all the time. I've been chasing this problem for quite some time. So just a tip for you, check that ball, that check valve in the bottom of your float bowl, and make sure that there's nothing that's built up in there. Little bit of dried up fuel. Sometimes it'll look like little amber pieces of like a popcorn kernel. It's just little tiny slivers of that golden amber dried up fuel. So I'm going to put her back together here and do a little test drive, check for an oil leak that I was messing with, and I'll keep you posted. Thanks. Easy Jeezy. A little follow-up. I thought as long as I have this carburetor part, I should make a few other comments as well. Now, I've taken the top plate off that holds my float assembly, and when you look down in the carburetor, this area right here, this is what I call a step. I don't know what else to call it. It's just part of the casting, but that's what I call the step. And what works best for me in most conditions, including street, is if the carburetor's been running, if the car's running fine, if the engine's running fine, and you take the carburetor off and you're careful not to spill this excess fuel that's sitting down in the bottom of the bowl there. All things being perfect, when you lift the top off, if the carburetor's level, the fuel level will be just up to that step, maybe a little over. And that seems to work really good for me for off-road use, and that is, you know, having the top of the float level with the bottom of that plate when you pull it up. And so a sure sign that you got a problem, if your car's, you're probably not going to mess with your carburetor if it's running good, but if you take it apart and that fuel level is below that, like it is at this moment because I've been playing with the accelerator pump, you've probably got a lean condition, and that will show up at constant highway speeds, or if you're doing climbing a steep hill for, you know, a long steep hill and you start to run out of gas. If that's low, then you're running out of fuel. If you pump the throttle and it seems to run pretty good and then all of a sudden it just dies, you've run out of fuel. And your float adjustment would be one of the suspect things, as well as fuel pressure and having fuel in your tank. That's always a good thing to make sure of before you rip things apart. These two jets that are right here, these are on a Delorto. These are the idle jets, and you have to access them from the top. And yes, you do have to, you know, I try to leave the air cleaner attached to the base when I'm doing this in the field. And, you know, you always run the risk of getting some dirt in there. And you can just reach it from, you know, from the top of your air cleaner plate. But as long as it's apart, I wanted to show that. And just like the WeberIDFs, this is your main jet stack, and this is the main, get it in the throttle here. That hole is really big, and very seldom does that thing get clogged up. You've probably got a fuel filter between your gas tank and your carburetor, and then where your fuel actually goes into the carburetor. And I'm looking for that on the side here. It's where? Oh, it's right here. Duh. There's a screen underneath that screw on the inlet. So, you know, even if your fuel hose is deteriorating a little bit, that'll usually catch most of the stuff. And those are places to look for blockages and restrictions. So, as well as the inlet valve on the bottom of your float there. So, when I'm adjusting it, and I've covered this before, when I'm looking at it, when the float's hanging, I want the bottom part of the float parallel with the top, and you look at that needle. This is tricky. I can't hold the camera and show this. But it's like a two-stage needle. So it's not when you just jam it up to the top and it stops. It's going to actually be lower. It's going to be down there. And you have to be real careful when you adjust those tangs. And it's a little tricky to get in there with needle nose and get the little tabs just right. And So be careful when you're in there. And okay, that's enough rambling. Hope there was some information in there that helped you. And for those new to my channel, I've got a bunch of playlists, and this is the needle valve on a Delorto that usually works best about 3.5 turns out. It's a long needle. Webers have a short needle. They're like 1.5, 1 3/4 turn out, and any adjustment really affects it. These are a little slower to have the effect because it's a long needle. And you know, your accelerator pump on a Weber, the small screw that's up in this area is where your idle jet is. It's on the outside of the air cleaner section, and in a sedan it just makes it unreal to try to access it. In a dune buggy or sand rail or something where the engine's hanging off the back, yeah, they're real easy. So but on my case, I've got the fiberglass body, and it's hard to get the main jet stacks out or the idle jet stacks. And this, what I call a split tail screwdriver, is just the greatest thing, because you can reach down in there, get a hold of the screw, and pull it up. And it's just a, I think they call it a starter screwdriver. This is a Craftsman. I always carry one in the buggy wherever I go. Here's something probably picked up at Ace Hardware or something. It's a little bigger and bulkier, but it does a great job, and you really need one of those if you're out and about with a Delorto carb setup. Okay, that's enough for now. Later. I keep thinking I was done, but this is a great opportunity to show some of these things that I've mentioned in other videos, just talking. Now I can actually show it to you. Okay, these velocity stacks that screw on here. Now, see how they're not symmetrical? The square part is the part that is the problem. What I did was I filed off the round part. Now, reason I did that is because when you set these on the carburetor base, it makes it easier to pull the jet stacks out. Here's the main jet stack, and it's a booger to see that. See them? There's the two idle jets. And if you don't file it off here, if you don't file the edge of that off, it makes it all that much harder when you're pulling up with that starter screwdriver. It will catch on that lip and fall back down, and then you'll be fishing around in there with needle nose or Lord knows what. And one other thing I want you to look at and check is when you've got an air cleaner and it's sitting here on the base, you want to make sure that you're getting full contact with this air cleaner in the base. If it's riding, you can see the track there where it's real close. But if you've got part of this velocity stack base bumping into the air cleaner, your air cleaner's not going to sit perfectly flat. You're going to get little bits of grit in there. It's going to clog your idle jets up for sure, get into the system, and cause you grief. And that's what causes people to start putting silicone and grease and all kinds of gobs of junk trying to seal their air cleaners. And you can see from the light going through there, you know, it's amazing these things work as well as they do. But you won't, you know, I don't think you're getting the sand and grit through the oiled cotton media. I think you're getting it through the top and the bottom because you're not getting a good contact. And different brands of these air cleaners, K&N's probably the best. They use a real soft, pliable neoprene. This one is from another company, and it was round. You have to squeeze it. It's a little stiffer, and it really hasn't softened up. And I took a set of these off of that had been in service for a long time, and they just got rock hard, and they weren't sealing, caused some issues with the car's operation. So now I think I'm done. Again, I'll see you in about 3 seconds. But wait! There's more! What a frustrating day. I'll tell you, I had myself a big slice of humble pie. I claim to be somewhat knowledgeable of these Delorto and Weber carburetors, but I'm telling you, what a fight. What a fight. I haven't had to do this in years. I apologize for the long video. I just was inside trying to edit some of it down and condense it a little bit, and it was all kind of important stuff. It's going to be a long video, and I apologize for that, and thank you for those of you that hung in here till the end. I had to take a break in the middle of the day. I gave up on this thing twice. I just had to walk away from it with frustration. The snapping and the popping and the lean condition that I was referring to, I'll tell you, I just, I put it all back together. I know it was clean, and I ended up changing the spark plug wires. Oh boy, I know I had a problem with the carburetor, but at some point along the line, I even checked my timing, I checked my point gap. And I don't know if you can see this. Let me turn on this light right here. Inside my distributor cap, if you look in the center there where that little carbon ring is supposed to be, there's supposed to be a little spring-loaded carbon tip that rides on top of your rotor, and you get your spark in there. At some point, I don't know when, but that carbon tip disappeared, and so now I've got, I replaced the plugs, I replaced the wires, I replaced the distributor cap and rotor, I took the carburetor apart numerous times on both sides, I changed the carburetor linkage, and I kept getting this weird snapping and popping, and those are the kinds of things that it can wear you down, and you just have to stick to it. And if you find yourself too frustrated where you can't do quality work, or you start over tightening things and throwing things around the garage, stop. Go get something to eat. Have another cup of coffee or a soda. Get yourself wired up even worse. But best thing to do is just to walk away. But as we all know, when you're on the side of the road or on vacation someplace and everybody else takes off to go for a ride in their buggies and you can't go along because yours is running like crap, it's really frustrating. It's a good time to get a a malt beverage and forget it and start on it again fresh in the morning, I guess. But anyhow, I looked all over my wire for carbon traces. At some point, I thought to myself, I remember once having a problem with the distributor cap where it cracked, and I was inside here looking for carbon tracks inside my distributor cap. I said, hey, where's the darn contact? And having your contact areas clean and free from that is a good idea too. So now here's another little thing that happened. I had started off with a 135 main jet, and the calculation 4 times the venturi size, which was 30, would have been a 120 main jet. And I have always had good luck with those carburetors with a 122 main jet. And so it was still snapping and popping. And I did find some crud in that check valve in the bottom of that float bowl. And everything I did made it a little bit better, but it wasn't perfect. It just wasn't perfect. And even on my bigger 2110 with higher compression, I had good luck with those carburetors with the small venturis and the small main jets, but you're not going at constant speed on the highway. You're off-roading. And with this car, I'm doing more on the road, and I thought, well, I'm going to not go back to the 135 main jet, because those spark plugs were all carboned up. I ended up putting a 130 main jet in there. I was lucky that I had some on hand, and oh my gosh, it was cold and windy out, but I was driving anyhow, and I've been driving it all day, and I'm very, very pleased. And I've got my timing dialed in. I did my springtime tune-up, and I just hope that some of you people that are having some springtime tune-up issues. I mean, your car runs great when you park it, and then come springtime you get your toys out and it doesn't run right, and it can be frustrating, and you might not get it the first go around. But you know, there's so many things to take into consideration. You know, vacuum leaks, spark plug wires, distributor, timing, point gap, all those things can mislead you, but you just have to step back and address the entire system. You can't just single out one thing. And see, I got lazy. I've had problems with those idle jets so many times over the years. I kept going back to that, kept going back to that. And here I had several problems that were contributing to that issue. And so it was frustrating to me, and it turned out to be a great day. I'm going to sleep good tonight. But I hope it's all helped somebody, and sorry for making you watch such a long video, but anyhow, hopefully it'll help somebody. Have a good one. Easy GZ out.